no iríamos. Bueno, ¿hay una manera que puedo saber quién está mirando? ¿O no?
Sí.
¿Cómo?
Vengo a aprender.
YouTube.
Ahora ya tengo.
Ajá.
La semana seguro tampoco le gustaría.
Una palabra que te
¿Está más grande?
No, pues les explico de una vez.
Sí.
So okay, that's good. Can I chat with them or no? ¿Puedo charlar con ellos?
Bueno, pues de una vez le voy a decir.
Well, I'm watching.
Say something.
You are watching?
Ya me va a botar a la
pero no puedo charlar.
Pero no puede ver quién es.
I'm watching.
Ustedes son
Con mi presentación.
No, that was my question. If I can chat.
No sé si buscarlo, porque digamos, pero digamos yo reviso figuras públicas para ver, ¿cierto? Porque han postado. Bueno, no, yo lo que pensaba no tener son operativas, pero si usted se mete a esas figuras públicas por decirle ley, bueno, no, yo puedo ver, ¿no es cierto?, los especialistas. Yo también, yo soy una figura pública, por eso es una... No pueden ver, ¿no es cierto? Nadie puede saber. ¿Por qué?
Además, eso
¿Cómo saben?
por favor, que callen, tengo yo que hablar.
No, porque estoy afuera, o sea, no estoy robando.
¿Cómo hacemos más grande? No, you have to like move the projector. Pero está fijado.
Muy bien, tú. Soy PTSA y no quería hacer la
Se supone, ¿no? Uno en el colegio se siente tan...
Sí, claro.
Es verdad.
Sí, yo.
Okay, so where's the YouTube?
Voy a apoyarme en una mesa.
¿Y cómo estás? Qué bien, gracias. ¿Sí? Qué bueno. Sí, va a estar.
Chinita, ¿tú ya llenaste?
Aún no todavía.
Ah, ya.
Bueno, pero ya no está bien.
Claro que sí, claro que sí.
Ahí les he visto a los chicos jugando en el recreo. Ajá.
Están los dos por fin acá.
Sí,
Ya salieron de imagen.
aunque están en diferentes clases, se encuentran igual en el colegio.
Están más cerca.
Todavía sí. Hola. Perfecto, gracias.
Sírvete un cafecito.
Okay, that has to go to
¿Dónde sirves?
¿Cómo estoy?
No, I understand. Hi.
Hola, café.
Grande de allá.
Hola. Hola, ¿qué tal?
¿Todo bien?
Todo muy bien.
Okay, great. Okay. No, that'd be great. That'd be great. Let me just let them know about this.
Can I help you?
Thank you so much.
Let's get rid of the plastic. The credit card is going to be much cheaper. You can't start a diet with this one because it's so good. This is so important.
Okay, so speak loudly. It's all good.
Okay, hello, good afternoon. Today is our first PTSA workshop, and we are really excited because for the first time we have a nutrition coach here, which is actually a mom here as well. So she has that daily challenge of us thinking of what we should send for the snacks, something healthy and nice for our kids. So we have here Paula Nava. And we'll cheers. The workshop will last around an hour, and by the end of our workshop, we'll have our director, Mr. Robert, who's going to talk a little bit here about these workshops. So first of all, thank you so much for coming, and we are really, really happy to have you here. We are open on any suggestion for the future, and welcome. So, Paula.
Well, thank you. Thank you, everybody, for being here and for having me here. It's a real pleasure. I really enjoy this subject very much, so I'm very happy to be here. I don't know if you all got this, whoever needs translation, or else I'll move into the next slide. So today we're talking about food habits from the start for healthy nutrition in kids. Firstly, I would just like to tell you a little bit about myself, and then we'll dive into the subject. Well, as Kata was saying, I'm also a mother here at the Cotopaxi. We arrived almost a year ago, and it's been fantastic so far. And we move around many countries, like every 3 to 4 years we have to move. So we're here, and one of the things why I'm telling you this is because at the beginning I wanted to keep like my kids. When I started, when I was raising my kids, I said like, oh, I want to give them the most nutritious food there is, so I want them to stay away from sugar and processed food. And as they start growing up, you start seeing like the challenges around that, and you see that they start getting invited to parties and going to field trips, etc. And suddenly what you think it was under your control, it's not under your control anymore. So you start like giving up in some things. So that's why I decided to study nutrition or be certified as a health coach, which is slightly different, but I'll tell you maybe later a little bit about it. But anyway, it was because I wanted to keep on focusing on nutrition and healthy habits, but without being this strict mom and very like a bit freaky, which I felt at some point that I was becoming. So I'm going to tell you a little bit about like the story of how I ended up this. And getting certified as a health coach was a super wide, eye-opening experience, because I found out that nutrition is not only about eating organic kale or broccoli, but there's so many things around nutrition that contributes to healthy raising well, we're gonna, if we have time, we will talk about it in a bit. So let's have this a little bit more interactive. So let's start by maybe you telling me, why do you think it's important to have a healthy nutrition from the start with in our families and with our kids? If anyone wants to comment. Why is it important to offer healthy food to our kids?
Well, for many reasons, but one could be because you want to start early instilling good values in our kids, so when they grow up they can make positive choices for their nutrition.
Yes, that's very important, and actually that's one of the reasons why I left this like freakiness and started like being more like in a more holistic way, because I really want them to be able to make healthy choices when they're at parties or traveling or at a friend's house, that they can actually like take responsibility from what they're eating, and it's not just what it's being served to them. So yes, I totally agree. Anyone else? Like,
we hear a lot about all these processed food issues come, and they hear also. So, for example, my son stopped eating ham and many other products completely. I was trying to convince him to eat it every once in a while, and he completely blocked them because he heard that he was going to like cancer. So it's important that they know what's healthy and what's not, and what's healthy.
Yes, and I mean, I agree completely. I don't know if you've come across many of the research, and every time more and more research are starting to link being healthy and not getting this non-transmissible disease with good nutrition. So yes, I mean, there's every time more and more evidence that show that a good nutrition is of course going to be preventive for the long term, and they're gonna like a guarantee of a nice adulthood. I mean, I don't know if you, but my case was that I wasn't like being taught on nutrition as much as it. I mean, we weren't that aware when I was a child as parents are today. And I mean, although I ate good food in our homes, outside we could eat like all the junk food there is. But it was because we weren't aware of all the danger that there is of eating so much junk food, and now it is like completely clear, and there's all the research to back this up. Anyone else, or should we move on? Okay, so if you see this image, what title will you give to this image?
Yummy.
Yummy, very good. I like that. Yeah, so a lot of people said yum, and someone said yummy, and I think was very brave and actually honest. And I personally agree, this is yummy. And for kids, this is yummy as well. But why is it so yummy? Why do all these things have in common that makes it so yummy? Sugar, very good. What else? Salt. And fat, exactly. Those are like three main ingredients that if you would want to summarize what junk food is, well, those are the three main ingredients. Of course, sweet stuff have more sugar and salty stuff have more salt, but more or less these are the three ingredients that are like in higher concentrations in junk food. And the reason why they do that is that these companies know that if they add these ingredients in higher concentrations, it will taste delicious, and people want to have more of that. And okay, that we maybe go and eat a lot of chips, that's fine for one day or whatever, but the kids are being like tricked with this. So this is what I start finding a little bit like, it's not right for me to see that companies, especially marketing strategies, are playing like with this brain neediness that they need, because I mean the body needs fat, needs sugar, and it needs what's the other one? Salt. I mean, those are things that we need normally. But when you put it on high concentrations, it's when it starts becoming unhealthy. So I just wanted to show you this so that we can set the scene. So we all agree that this is healthy. I mean, yes, it's healthy when it makes us happy. Sometimes at a party, we could actually give it the name healthy, but it's not like something that we need to eat every day, because we know that it may nourish us in like emotionally, maybe one time, but it's not going to nourish us like nutritionally. So just like to have this in mind. Okay, so before this, don't look. So what does healthy mean? What would you say that it's a healthy meal, or what is it to eat healthy? Balance. Okay, I like that one.
Getting what you need from food to feel well and to have a good level of energy and
yes. Okay, so I don't know if it's happened to you that you open the newspaper one day and it says, oh, red meat can cause cancer. So everyone is, oh my goodness. And then you open the newspaper the next day and it says like, who said that? I mean, of course, we've been eating red meat for so many years, it's not going to cause cancer. So then you're a bit confused. But then you open the news one day and it says, milk is really bad because it's inflammatory and it causes mucosity, and you shouldn't, that's for the cows, not for humans. And then you read the next day and milk is what pediatricians say, that it's for strong bones and whatever, and the same thing happens with with wine, with chocolate, with so many things, with fats. There's lots of debate of which fats are good and bad, and I personally got confused at one point. I don't know if anyone here is confused, but it caused a lot of confusion. So I think, many people think that we should actually start looking healthy stuff, not as like a timetable in which you say, okay, so many grams of this, so many things of that, but we actually have to start looking into ourselves and actually learning from our body rather than learning from the book or the whatever. Not saying that we shouldn't study and not look into the textbooks, but actually start learning from our own bodies, and because no one knows more what's healthier for you, a little bit like what you were saying, than your own body, like what they really need at the moment. So here I made like a graph, like from the easy start to the ideal world. So this is like really ideal. Don't even look at it because we're too busy parents. We have so many things to do that we cannot do that. But if we had to set a journey, like how are we going to start to feed our family in a bit like healthier way, where can we start? So yes, here you see like this, the first step. So what's our first step? Starting to cook more. And this may sound like a grandmother's idea, but actually when you start cooking, you start actually looking really in detail of what you're putting into your soup or your whatever thing that you're cooking. So you know how much salt you're putting in, how much sugar, if you're putting any other additives, etc. And cooking is actually a way of putting, this might sound a little bit funny for some, but it's actually a way of putting emotion into the family the meals that you bring to your family. So of course you've heard that everything that's cooked with love tastes much better than what's being cooked like, I don't care what there's in the pot. So if you start cooking, I'm sure that your kids are going to start liking food or start looking at food in a different way because they're receiving this love and emotions that you're putting into your plates. The next thing would be to read labels. Does anybody here know how to read a label? Yes? What is the first thing that you look at the label?
I try to look at the true ingredients. Like if it's peanut, I try to see if it's peanut, now peanut oil or peanut whatever. I can't tell you right now the words, but I know them. Words recognize them, they're hard to pronounce, but I know them.
Yes, that's a good
I've been working on that.
Yes, that's a good real rule of thumb. If you cannot pronounce it, just leave it back on the counter because for sure it's not good for your body. But I like what she's saying, like the less ingredients that what you're buying has, the more, let's say, natural it will be. So actually in Ecuador I found something that is very useful, and I wish that so many other countries had that, and it's the three, I'm not going to go into detail, but here, if you look again, they are actually pointing you out the 3 ingredients that we were talking at the beginning. So here, if you don't have like all the time to be looking into the labels in all the detail, at least you have like an idea, okay, it doesn't have that much sugar, come in. Like it doesn't have that much fat, come in. So here it's like a good way to start if you're like new in this label reading. But there's another thing that you could actually look in before becoming the real expert in label reading, and is looking in the list of ingredients, like you were saying. And as another rule of thumb, anything that has more than 5 ingredients can be considered as highly processed. So anything that you see that, of course, if you're buying, you have to put a little bit of like common sense. If you're buying tomato sauce, what could a tomato sauce, if you make a tomato sauce at home, what does a tomato sauce have? Tomato, maybe water, and maybe a bit of salt and sugar. So there you go, 4 ingredients. So why would you want 7 or 8 ingredients in your tomato sauce? That means that tomato sauce is highly processed. So I would leave that tomato sauce back in the counter and maybe look for another alternative. And that's like a rule of thumb, like no more than 5 ingredients. And the other thing is that the ingredients, the first 3 ingredients are the ones that have been added in more quantity. Okay, so if you see sugar as one of the first three, you know that that product has more sugar than maybe another alternative. Or if you see fat in there, or if you see salt or whatever, you know that the ingredients that you want to avoid, you don't want to see them in the first three rows unless you're buying salt or sugar, of course. So, I just brought some examples, and what you were saying, if you're buying quinoa, this one doesn't even have the flashlight that we were looking after because this is supposed to be only quinoa. I mean, here you don't need like the list of ingredients because you are buying actually quinoa and nothing else. I mean, there is an information of the amount of fat, protein, or whatever other macronutrient that it may have, or micronutrient, but the label or the list of ingredients should only be quinoa. For instance, I like this one. Not, I don't work for them or anything. It's that if you go and see the world of the cocos, there are so many and really highly processed, but this one is actually the one, and it's Ecuador. I think it's the only place where I found a children's cocoa, because this is the children version, that has only cocoa and panela, which is bacari. So actually, and if you see the content, it's low, medium on sugar. So this is something that you can have like an okay choice, and not like the Nesquik. Go and see the Nesquik and see how many ingredients it has. I mean, nothing against Nesquik. I mean, I also like Nesquik and I drink Nesquik sometimes, but just so that we have the comparison and the exercise between the two products, this might help. Okay, so going up our ladder. You read your labels, so now you're better. So now you know that you're not bringing so many processed foods to your kitchen. And now this is where it starts getting harder. I would put these three like in the same cluster, so to say. But if you start going to farmer's market rather than the supermarket, I am sure you're going to get more fresh ingredients than what you get at the supermarket. I mean, that's a bit kind of obvious. And also they keep on telling us buy local and buy in season. Why is that? Why is it better to buy an apple, or better said, why is it better to grab an apple from your tree and not an apple from California, or I don't know, apples, they come from Chile. Again, no offense from the Chileans in the room, I've seen one already. What's the difference between the two apples in terms of nutrition?
Also, the maturity of the fruit.
Yes, I mean, if you start putting in the food miles in it and the environmental thing, it's okay, no discussion about it, but in terms of nutrition, what happens when you eat something that's ripe already? You've actually managed to capture all the nutrients from the soil, from the plant, and into that specific product, in this case the apple. But if you're eating an apple that has been harvested maybe even a month, and sometimes they harvested more than a month ago, you're losing all the possibility of grabbing all those nutrients and into that apple and eating the freshness and the nutrition that apple is. So in other words, that apple, the local apple, is more nutritious, dense nutritious, you understand, you get it? Than the apple that comes from really far away. So that is only like one of the examples, but of course, if you want to keep on climbing up the ladder, then go for only organic. I mean, that's very difficult to find every single thing organic, but if you are in a place where you can actually buy everything organic, I mean, definitely it's a better option. Sorry?
Like you can grow your
and that's the last one in my ladder. I mean, growing your own food, of course. Some people might be saying like, okay, now she got really like insane. Actually, ever since I moved to Ecuador, I started to grow. I would never say all of our food, but we grow a lot of food in our garden, and it's been a fantastic project. Not only because we're eating fresh, and I now always have basil in my garden. I always have now rosemary, etc. So you can always make a recipe. It's incredible. Like before, I was like, no, I cannot make that because I don't have that. No, I cannot prepare that because I don't have that. And now, all of a sudden, all of the freshness is in the garden. Yes, it takes up time. Yes, it takes up space. But if anyone has the time and the space, please do it, because the benefits are way much more better than the other side.
And if I may, I'm from Montreal, and every summer I had a really small concrete terrace, but it's just full of pots, and that's how I grow my food. So you don't need to have a green pedacito de césped. You can just have a pot and put tomatoes, and it's really,
And imagine tomatoes, which are normally like high pesticide intensive, and you can at least grow only your tomatoes. You are already gaining so many benefits because alone from that you're not consuming all of those pesticides and other things that tomatoes normally get, or strawberries. I mean, there's like the dirty dozen in agriculture, and those are like the really I mean, if you don't have the budget and the time, at least aim for the dirty dozen in organic, or I mean, but again, here we are in the Lala world, and we are all busy, I know. It varies, and it varies from country to country, but if you go to dirtydozen.org, you will find like the list of the ones that accumulate more pesticides or whatever, or depending on the season.
Yo la verdad es que todo el tiempo he pasado buscando un lugar confiable donde sea orgánico, tú sepas que no tiene químicos.
Pues yo solo conozco, vivo en Cumbayá, sorry, I live in Cumbayá, and in Cumbayá there's two times a day, a week, there's an organic market in el centro comercial La Esquina, but I know that in
Also the farmers market
they have there's also
en la floresta en Bumi.
Ajá,
Está en ¿cómo se llama? Ya le voy a
Bumi.
El Guayumuro, el Bumi, está el Chismatí, que también tiene cosas de orgánicas.
What's the name of the website?
El Lemon Branch, dirtydozen.org. Dirty dozen.
Dirty as in dirt.
As in nasty dozen. Okay. So now we're gonna start like in what I really wanted to do. This was like setting the scene. And now I would like to really talk to you about the things that we can do once we are at home and once we are serving the meal and offering meals to our family. And I want to start by a quote by Bernard Shaw, the playwright, that says that there is no sincere love than the love of food. And the reason I chose this is because at the beginning I was telling you about this whole emotional things around eating, which at the beginning I was telling you how I was this freaky mom, that I was only wanted my kids to eat green and no sugar and etc. And then I started to gradually transform into a more like down-to-earth way of feeding my kids. And I realized that because as I told you, we move around every 4 years from country to country, and my husband is from Spain, so I started seeing that we were not only getting into new countries each time where they eat differently, where products are different, but also my husband is different, and every time we travel to Spain, food is different, and we go to Colombia and food is different there as well. So I started like saying, instead of focusing on my kids being this like super healthy, only broccoli and yes to kale, why don't I just try to have more adventurous kids rather than the mega healthy, more like adventurous that they want to try and start like eliminating this barrier. I don't know if you've seen kids that they don't want to try anything new. They're always like scared to new flavors or new textures, etc. So it's like, and part of what I do right now in coaching is trying to find ways to promote this like adventurous eaters. So here right now we're moving into more of these like sort of tips and ideas. So the first thing I will suggest is to be a role model. I mean, before you actually say to your kids what you want them to be eating, revise what you are eating. I don't know, it happens like the same with the phones, no? Don't look at your phone and you're the whole day on your phone. And with eating, it's the same thing. Kids see everything that you're doing the whole time, and with eating happens that it's exactly the same thing. So if you're in the restaurant and you're always the first one to order Coca-Cola and chips, what's your kid saying? He's seeing that that's the delicious food that we should all be eating. But if you actually enjoy salad, or if you think that a meal is not complete without vegetables, then you're actually starting to teach slowly. Nothing is going to happen from one day to the other. I mean, these are all things that with some love and patience and persistence are going to have a more like enduring effect than all of a sudden. And be careful, kids are very smart. They know when you're faking it, so this salad is fantastic. They know that you're not enjoying the salad, so you don't have to fake it all the time. So it's a bit of revise your habits first before telling your kids what they should be eating. Get them cooking, and this, I'm sure you've heard this 1,000 times, but I know that parents don't put this into practice, or at least the mothers that I coach, they always tell me, no, thank you, but my kitchen is going to get dirty, my kid is going to get burnt, or he's going to cut himself, and a simple pasta is going to take 2 hours, so no thank you, I will leave this for another mother. And I actually suggest you strongly to start inviting your kids to the kitchen, because it's where they actually have the contact of the meal and the preparation itself, and I guarantee that they will want to try it once they've been involved with the preparation. And why is that? Because most of the things, and actually this has also been proven, kids are picky because many of the times, not all in all the cases, because of textures. So maybe they say, yes, I like the tomato, but only raw. And once you give it like when it's cooked, they say like, no, thank you, I don't like the tomato. Because what happened? The texture changed. But when the texture changed and you've been involved with that change in the texture, then the kid is prone to try it when they know that they've seen the raw tomato when they chopped it, and then they saw it how it started getting soft as you were cooking it. Does it make sense? Okay, so that, for instance, is a very like strong coaching tip if you want them to try like cooked carrot versus raw, or things that go in stews or oven or bake. If they are involved, they actually see the process of the whole product transforming itself in the kitchen. So, and these are pictures of my kids, and the reason why I'm showing pictures of my kids almost throughout the presentation is to show you that yes, you can. Because I am a mother that works. I also take my kids to the extracurricular activities. I come to school. I have a help in my house only half of the time. My husband works a lot. I mean, we are the same. And I can still, sometimes, not every time, and they also like Nutella and ice cream, but I sometimes say, okay, now it's your turn. You're getting involved with the dinner today or tomorrow. So where does the food come from? And it's, here you will say like, oh, everybody knows that the egg comes from the chicken and that the milk comes from the cow. Yes, do we really know that? You will be surprised that actually, and it was published in the New York Times, there was a survey made to, I don't know, PK to second graders, and they asked them, where does chocolate milk come from? And more than 60% of the kids answered that it came from brown cows. Yes. Okay, that one was very hard. I know it was very hard. But imagine if they answered that, imagine where does many other ingredients come from? From the supermarket, of course. And the reason why it's important for them to be involved with all the process is because they start adding value to the piece of food that is being served. And they know that, for instance, a chicken doesn't hatch an egg doesn't hatch or lay 4 eggs a day. They know it's only one. And they know that potatoes take maybe, they start, I mean, not that you now have to go and live in a farm and actually teach them everything, but if they start knowing the process involved in many of the food production itself, even if it's the baking of a cake, they know that to bake a cake takes some effort, and you need to take attention of the time, of the ingredients, etc. So it's really inviting them to be involved in the process of food production. take your kids shopping, not to the supermarket, but try to take them to local markets as well. There's where they will find the most variety. When you're traveling, I know Disney is fantastic, but try to also visit the local market because you will find so many different ingredients, especially if you have the opportunity to go abroad and see different cultures. It's when they start like smelling that new spice from that new country, that new whatever shape or texture of that other thing. So here we are like spice, in a spice market and fish market, like with this whole variety of fishes. And that starts slowly but surely bringing in some healthy habits. This I'll do faster. Hide the kids menu, please. Eliminate kids menu. I mean, yes, sometimes when you go all together to the restaurant, you at least want to talk with your friend, so you order the pizza. But try to really start making this difference that, since you're a kid, you will only eat pasta. And we, the grown-ups, eat the lamb with the exquisite onion with whatever. So what are they learning? Yes, I'm a kid, so I eat pasta, and you eat all these different things. I mean, yes, if your kid is not so adventurous, you can at least offer, do you want to try a little bit of my lamb? Do you want to try a little bit of my thing? And this starts building up. So try to not always go for the kids menu, like in restaurants or in parties or whatever. Don't give up. I love this one. And there's many people that say, I don't cook carrots because my kids don't like carrots. So I never buy carrots because my kids told me they don't like carrots, so in our house we don't do carrots. We don't do carrots? Carrot is a normal ingredient in everybody's house and in everybody's country's cuisine. I mean, carrots are carrots, and we're going to keep on serving carrots whether you like them or not. It's not about fighting and saying, you don't like carrots, so now we have carrot cake and carrot salad and carrot juice and carrot. It's not that. It's not declaring the war on your kids, but yes, carrots are welcome in our dinner table. And the day you decide that you want to try your carrots, you're welcome to do it. And this is our true picture, like me flashing there, because there were days that said, no, salad, no thank you, salad, no thank you, salad, no thank you, and days gone by, and my kids saying, salad, no thank you. And one day one of them said, like, I'll try this. Okay, you're going to keep on putting this. And she tried it, and oh, yummy. And then the other one, and the other one, and they didn't even serve it, and they just ate it from the plate. So you will be amazed that persistence is always going to win over like giving up. So don't give up on that certain, remember, do it with love and not declaring the war, but this will help. Snacks. My grandma used to say that there's no better seasoning than hunger. And, well, yes, if they're nibbling all day long, of course, when it comes time for dinner, where it's the most nutrient-dense meal of the day, they're not going to be hungry because they've been eating all the afternoon long. So this is to encourage you to try to make time slots for snacking. And right now we're a little bit out of control at my house, but we used to have like this sort of like restaurant slot, like the kitchen is open from 12 to 4. You are allowed to order anything from that time to that time, and after 4, kitchen is closed, like in the restaurant, like sorry, no meal served, no one's allowed to get in. And they started like realizing that only until that time is that they're allowed to have a snack once they come from school or whatever, because sometimes it's clear for them, sometimes not, but they know that if they eat 2 hours or less before dinner, they're not going to be hungry. So all the effort you're doing here, preparing and teaching them to show them this beautiful meal, if they've eaten 20 minutes ago, it can be delicious, but they're not going to be hungry and they're not going to try these new ingredients. Does anyone have a comment? I've been like chatting. It was supposed to be an exchange. So this is a bit related, eat when hungry. And this is more like a note to mothers. We've all been raised with, if you don't eat everything, you cannot go out. If you leave a bit of a rice, you're not allowed to watch TV. So what's happening there? We're actually telling them when you are hungry, not when I'm hungry. And you're actually making him not trust his own word, body telling him, I'm hungry right now, I'm not that hungry right now. So I know it's a little bit tricky, and I know kids are very intelligent and they'll tell you I'm not hungry, and maybe it's just because they don't want to try it, but try to teach your kids to obey their own body talking to them when they're hungry. Because if you continue on pressuring them to eat when they're not hungry, they will actually start getting used to overeating. Because it's like this, you have gotta eat or else you don't go out, or else you don't go out. So this may trigger, not saying that in every case we'll do it, but it may trigger like overeating comportamientos. Behavior. Yes, thank you. And very related, don't treat food as punishment or reward. I mean, food is food, and ice cream is an ice cream. It's not a reward. I mean, some days for ice cream. Go and have the ice cream and no big deal. And yes, birthdays we eat cake and we eat Oreo cookies and no big deal. There's also a place for all of this in your kitchen, in your homes. But when you start like relating punishment and prizes with hunger is when, after many years, I mean, I'm not saying that this is the direct cause, but all these problems of emotional eating that there are, we as an adults, that as soon as our boyfriend leaves us, we go to buy a huge ice cream. This emotional eating has actually been taught to ourselves, that when you feel bad, you go and eat something so that you feel good, or when you actually have made something really good and the price is to go and again overeat. So this overeating is actually being very linked to all the emotions that you're receiving, whereas you can actually teach them how to talk from your emotions. I mean, I'm sure there are a lot of experts in these emotional. There are more experts in emotional than myself, but this is very related to that as well. And eat without distractions, I love it. I mean, how many sit at the table with their families, with the phone, with the computer, with the TV on, and this is actually causing this behavior of eating, and I don't care what's happening, and I'm actually watching this terrible news of so many people getting, I don't know, washed by the floods in the other side of the country, and you're like eating and watching this terrible news while you're eating. So again, trying to bring mindfulness into your plates and trying to actually concentrate on what's happening and not getting distracted to what's happening all around. Kata has a very good example of what she does in her house when someone looks at the phone.
So I charge my husband 25 cents, or if the girls like they grab the phone to see something, then I have like a little piggy bank and they have to give me 25 cents, and we gather that 25 cents. And the outcome is that we're going to go for an ice cream, which is not that healthy, but yeah, it's kind of what we do at home.
I mean, anyone knows what rules and what sort of like contract they have in their house, whatever, it's funny or whatever, but like having them know that the time for eating is a bit of sacred time, which is what we're talking in the next slide, eating meals together. The power of family meals is, and each time there's even more and more research actually talking about the real power that there is when you sit and have family meals. Because and if you think about it, it's maybe the only time in the day or in the week where you actually sit all together as a family. And imagine all the magic that happens when you're sitting in a family. I don't know if it's happened to you, that you sit with friends, you go out for dinner and you start like having a conversation. And at the beginning you're like, oh, so how are you doing? I thought that I heard that you got a new job, great. And the other one says, oh, the weather is fantastic and whatever. So at the beginning the conversation is like clumsy, like we are all talking about different things at the same time. But as you start eating and as you start gaining confidence, like people start opening up and they start sharing things. And that happens with kids, is exactly the same thing. So if you want your kids to come and really share what's happening at school and what's happening with that friend, when they are older, when they have the first crush on someone, or when they, you see, like many different situations, you have to actually build that scene for them to come. And the dinner table is the best place for it because it's when your soul is also being nourished. So it's when people open up much easier. I don't know if maybe you've experienced that as well, but the best conversations happen over the table. And it's like, la sobremesa is like the most treasured thing you can do. So as a reminder, when you have family meals, I know 7:30, gotta go to bed, everybody brush their teeth, go to bed, go to bed. Yes, I mean, we need to put that order in the house, but try to make some family meals that are a bit longer so that you can actually have that space for everybody in the family to start opening up. And one thing that is very important, we mothers, maybe some and parents, identify with myself, we are like, oh, so you're telling me that someone's bullying you. Oh, okay, let me, and you're actually not listening what your kid is actually telling you. So I invite you to put into practice this tip, actually to stay 2 or 3 minutes quiet, listening to what your kid has to tell, or your husband, or your wife, because it's only after you start warming up that the thing really comes out. It's not like, so how was your day? Oh, it was fantastic, and actually I wanted to tell you that I'm not feeling good because I'm gonna, no, these emotions don't come out so easily. You really need to start like warming the whole atmosphere up. So dinner tables is the best place because there's like the beginning, the middle, and the end. So when you're doing these family meals, at least once or twice a week, try to have like the longer version of the family meal so that you start having these like interesting conversations. But of course, these family meals, not only because of this emotional space that you're giving to the family, there's also a lot of evidence that show that families that eat together have, their kids will less likely have obesity, they will have better healthy habits in the future, etc. I mean, there's all sorts of evidence in favor of family meals. So treat them as, and okay, here I just wanted to point out that we try, not every time of course, to do like different rituals. So today we're having Mexican. If there's someone from Mexico here who will say like, oh, that's not Mexican food, but we call it Mexican. And we dress up Mexican, and we sort of like do the Mexican way. Or we maybe do a flower arrangement. I mean, it's not like to bring out the whole china you got for the wedding, but at least make it special. Sometimes it doesn't have to be every day, because this again will help you build this family tradition in your homes. And just in time for the last thing that I wanted to share with you, and that I know that most of you are here for, is ideas for healthy lunch boxes and snacks. And this is like people ask me this all the time, and I mean, there's, of course, the healthiest lunchbox is the one that you prepare at home. And yes, there's alternatives in the supermarket that you can buy the quinoa or whatever, and yes, there are many alternatives. Remember to read labels when you're choosing what you are sending to your kids, but if you want to go for it and start maybe preparing the lunch boxes yourself, here I have some tips. The first tip would be to bake more. Yes, thank you. I'm giving you more homework, but baking, have you ever heard about batch cooking? Yeah, like we set the whole Sunday for trying to. So, okay, so if you're not into a lot of cooking, like one whole day cooking, etc., at least start with planning. When the magic of planning, if you start planning and you plan all the snacks for the week, I guarantee that at least you're going to put in there 3 healthy snacks, and you're going to be like feeling very proud that at least this week you could send 3 healthy things. Because you're planning in that way, when you go to the supermarket, you buy the things that you already planned. And if you want to go the step further, bake a little bit. A banana bread, a carrot cake, banana muffin, quinoa banana muffin, carrot souffle, carrot cake. I have a website. You can go into my website and look into recipes. Maybe they'll help you, maybe not. But I mean, the internet is full of recipes. I mean, of course not. You go into Google and you'll see the whole world of healthy recipes that you can make very quickly with the help of your kids and start sending baked stuff is a good alternative. Always pair it with some fruit or vegetable. That is, if you have something baked and a fruit and vegetable, let's say for a morning snack, here right now I'm not showing you like the whole lunch thing, you already like have a balanced thing. Try to maybe the time when you're not putting the baked stuff so sweet, you can also pair it with something with milk, dairy products as well, or you can combine with dips, which I'll show you in a bit. Fall in love with dips and spreads. Ever since I discovered the different type of things that you can put into dips, now I'm in love with it. I put remolacha, how is it called? Beets. I do a beet dip and they eat it. Here it is. I mean, these are real, again, real pictures of lunch boxes that I send to my kids here. I mean, I know that sometimes the kids next to them are like, sorry for you that they said that. But I actually have received comments from mothers like, hey, my kid has told me that she tried this banana, quinoa, whatever muffin, and it was really good. Can you give me the recipe? So if we're all in all this together, I'm sure we can start like moving the snack options as a healthier way. I mean, and again, it's not about like being the drastic mom that now you will never get the Doritos that you love. But why don't we just send the Doritos maybe once a week, maybe once every 15 days, and you can start like actually hiding the Doritos until they disappear, and you'll see that they will eat it. I mean, my lunchbox comes empty every day back home, and this is one of a great. And as said, try to if the day that you're sending the beet dip, maybe send something that it will also lighten up. I mean, your bocadillo and cheese, this is very Colombian and she loves it, so I send it like together. Or the day, I mean, she loves hummus, but she loves the Serrano pretzel. So I mean, try to like balance again what we were talking at the beginning, but always include this like healthy version. And dips, there's so many things. Here's the famous avocado toast, easy as nothing, and they end up loving it. And the trick is that I put some plantain chips on it for extra crunchiness, and that makes it already like the new avocado toast. And I mean, she eats it like the best thing. And of course, if she likes pistachios, send some pistachios, buy your different nuts, etc. And these will make like fun alternatives for your lunchbox. Wrap it up. Everything that you put in a wrap is going to be success guaranteed. There you can also spread all your dips, the vegetables, the fruit you want. Here is a cottage cheese wrapped with banana and strawberry and some mint. Here's peanut butter and banana. Here's cream cheese and vegetables. And here's the famous quesadilla, which I put broccoli and zucchini in it as well. So, and these are all recipes that you can find in my website, but it's not because of me. In Google you'll find the most delicious things you can do, and this is sometimes even like the quesadilla from the night before, and in the other, the baked things are things that I have already prepared. It's not like every morning I have to wake up at 4. No, this is, I do it in the same time as we all get ready for our duties. So these are some ideas that I hope will help you. And just some time for conclusion. I just wanted to wrap it up by saying that this is a process that lasts for a lifetime. I don't know, the person that knows that says that they know how to eat and they already figured it out, please raise your hands, because this is a process that it will last a lifetime. We are learning how to eat, like it's like reading or writing. I mean, we will learn all through our lives how to do it correctly, so don't feel that this is not a competition of who knows best about the healthy meal. This is actually a process that you have to enjoy, especially if it's with your family. Real is better than perfect. That I learned with my own, with tears, as we say in Colombia. I mean, I actually started enjoying it more when it became fun and realizing that we don't have to be perfect. don't compare this thing of your brother does everything and you don't do anything. This doesn't bring anything. And don't compare also with your neighbors or your other kids. And kids eat what you buy. In the end, whatever you're buying is what they're gonna eat in the end. So thank you very much.
I want to thank all of you for coming here. This is something really, really important as parents, and I just want to add a couple of things. I read a book recently, it's called The World Before Yesterday, and it's about comparing modern society to traditional societies that still exist with you, like in the Amazon. We eat more salt in one day than they eat in a month. It's just incredible. And another thing, in China we had a very cosmopolitan population at the school. And there was a meeting like this one day, and the PTSA representatives, Mr. Van Ryken, the teachers have to teach our kids to eat vegetables at lunch. You have to make them eat vegetables. And I said, I can't do that. I said, we can teach about nutrition, but I'll give you an example. We have Muslims, we have Jewish students, and we have Hindu students in this school. I've never had to tell a Hindu student not to eat beef. I've never had to tell a Jewish or a Muslim student not to eat pork. So, you know why? Because those are values from their home. So if you value vegetables, you have to teach them at home. We can reinforce it, we can provide opportunities, but really the value comes from home. And so I'm really glad that we have all these parents here, because this is where it really starts with nutrition. And good luck. One other thing, when you were talking about gardening, I ran a little gardening club with kindergarten students in China, organic. They learn about organic, there's no poison, no bad things. And when we were growing this Chinese cabbage, and I said to David, his name wasn't David, but in the cafeteria, I said, can you guys prepare the cabbage tomorrow? It's ready. So we cut the cabbage. The next day, kindergarten students, they all were coming and going, Mr. Van Ryken, these are the best cabbage in the world. They all ate cabbage for the first time because they grew it. They cut it, it was there, and it was amazing. It was a real cool experiment in seeing how powerful it is when children actually know what food is. So thank you so much. It's really, really important that we safeguard the health of our children. Thank you so much.
That's it. Thank you for coming so much. Oh,
Thank you.
Sophie has a short announcement.
I don't have 30 seconds. So my name is Sophie, and 2 years ago we started the Académico del Taxi Book Club. It's a book club for parents, and we meet during the day. It's every third Wednesday of every month, so the coming one is on Wednesday, September 25. It's here in the cafeteria at 10. And the book we're currently reading